Welcome back, everybody, to the Rusty Tub. Today I'm going to be hanging out with Dermatologst. I'm about to give him a call, and he's going to give us a tour of his base. So let's give him a shout. Hello? Hello, Governor. It's not calling him. Answer the phone. I know that you're home. Something, something, something. You can't hear me, bro. You son of a bitch.
Oh, do I still need to hit this button to talk?
You fucking ass. Just sitting here letting me sing to you. It's awful. Alright. Where am I going here? Let's see. Why don't you meet me at the spawn point?
Yeah, makes sense.
I am recording. So, we've got the record going. Alright, so, welcome. What are you wearing? Why do you look so dope?
Wearing the same set you are.
Oh, I just never seen anybody else wearing it. What the fuck?
Oh. I didn't fully upgrade it because I was lazy.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I could later, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so just the intro for folks that are going to be watching. This is the end. We're approaching the end of our server time here. I neglected to cancel the subscription, so we've got another month left here. And my friend Durham is going to show us all of the stuff that he's made, and I hope some of the history behind it, some of the evolution here, and some of your themes, sir. So I'll kind of give you the floor and let you be the tour guide.
Oh man. Okay, well, I guess we head over here to the village I took over, and all the villages slowly died off to zombie and.
I see that you've updated your... Oh, you finished the spider tower! Dude! That looks sick! That's awesome, man! Like, I haven't seen this yet. I'm moving too fast. 1 second, man. I have to, I have to fucking... Oh, no.
Oh man, you want to know something cool about the armor? So of course you noticed that you have speed things that I clearly slowed down because they were too much.
Right.
But if you turn up the legs, as the legs or feet, one of them, you turn them up all the way, but you don't have the chest on, and then you use a like a fully upgraded wand with portable hull. You can pretend like you're the Flash because you can just run through everything.
Ah, that's amazing.
You just haul on the ground, and then you open portals as you run into stuff. So you just fly through the ground. I don't know. I thought it was neat.
Dude, so the spider tower, 10 out of 10. You even put another portal up here? That is so
Yeah.
cool.
I took the one from up here and put it down there. Since it's only half a spider, the idea was like the spider is coming through the portal
Oh, that's sick!
and got stuck, I guess.
I'm so glad that you finished this because I've always wanted to know. I know you threw down these garish blocks at one point in time, these illuminators. But I couldn't see what you could see, and I love seeing this right now. It looks so cool, dude. Well done.
Yeah, like I mean, I worked with what I got. Yeah, so the block was just a reminder, like, hey, use this block for the eyes. And when I looked at the spiders, I realized they had tiny little eyes above them, like above their like four main ones. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh well. Okay. So then I had to find these others that are all from like, well, these are Project Red, but thermal expansion for some reason has glowstone illuminators. I don't.
That's great. That is so cool. All right.
I am not getting rid of this random kill thing.
So
Anyway,
when did you build this back up? This is I know that for anybody watching, like I know that at one point in time Durham needed a lot of glue, and so he would saddle horses and ride them up to the edge of his smeltery, and then dismount, steal the saddle, and then push the horses into their doom, where they would get cooked by all the lava here. So this is this is the same principle, except I don't know what you were spawning.
oh, this thing was originally. So when I made this one, I think this one was cows. I just was pushing cows. In fact, it gave me an idea for like if we do another server, like you know another year or whatever, for like this mod pack. I mean, Yeah, but so like this smeltery went through several different forms. So it was it was a wide but small smeltery at first. And then it had like some wooden stuff on the back. That was essentially what I walked the horses up and then took off the saddle and pushed them in. Because sometimes they were a little bit, I mean, didn't want to go into the lava and they would try to walk away.
Those
So,
bastards.
yeah, so I needed something I could get off and make sure I didn't fall into the lava because that was a pain.
Yeah.
And then push them in because I needed we like that was the first step was you either farmed creepers or you got glue and I was like I'm not farming creepers, so I had an abundance of horses. As you notice, there aren't any. They don't spawn near my base. I did find a and I think I took a soul just in case I needed one later,
Yeah.
so I could spawn a bunch of them.
So the first village. I remember when Derm started here. He was the philosophy that he had, and I used this. I leaned on it a lot. Was I want to make a base that anybody can use, who comes through my place, and so that it's easy to understand. And he really did that. I mean, from the get go, we were using this assembly line of things. I just remember coming in and out of portals over here all the time. So
Yeah, so that was Smeltery's phase one. Phase two was it just building up higher and higher because I needed more space for it. And then this was eventually phase three once I was really past the smeltery, but it had certain aspects that I was using. Like one of them was I used this to murder cows because they gave me blood, like blood,
hmm
not life essence, and then also gave me meat, which I could use to make more blood or make whatever. But that was the three phases of the smeltery. And only one of these coke ovens is mine. I think the other two were yours, but I linked them up. Um, they have a link up below them that you can't see that all goes to this creosote tank
excellent.
for if forever we needed. There's a bunch right here, and they could always just make more.
Yeah.
Actually, in fact, if we do this, like if you just open up portals in my base, you'll see like random like lines of things
Oh,
that go
okay.
under.
It's been a minute since
Pretty
I've
much
used
anywhere.
my wand and stuff. So, ooh,
Yeah, so like you can just see what's
yeah,
underlined, and
cool.
then it goes all the way down. And there's some spiders that are coming out.
They're coming out of the black portal.
No, they're coming out because there's a spawner right there. You know what's weird is normally they pretend like the areas that disappeared
Walls.
aren't real.
Yeah.
They don't normally walk through there.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Hmm.
Whatever. But like if you just go through and you click on random things, you'll see like the stuff that's below
Yeah.
the
Okay,
hidden.
so tell the story about this fucking place.
Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is what came next. Is it? Wait. Well, I mean, I built a bunch of this stuff, but Chick-fil-A is what really
I
came
think what
next.
started it is that you had these sentries that aren't here right now, and they were
Yeah. So,
they were just
uh,
saying they were just exploring that mod.
in fact, we'll see them again, or not really those, because they kept on. Every time there was a mob purge, they died too. Um,
Oh no.
R.I.P. But they're back playing again. They're just playing in a different saloon.
Okay.
And so yeah, so I think well those were the final touch to Chick-fil-A, although they were always part of the plan in the first place. Um, so I wanted to make a place where we could make slime,
Yep.
but it couldn't just be like a random, well, we didn't have a whole lot of tech. So the quickest one that I could think of was to use chickens, is to make it so that we spawn chickens because chickens create more chickens.
Yep.
And if we just well, inbred them, so to speak, uh, you could create all your initials, and then once you created all your initials, like you could then cause it to shoot them out. And there
Great
were several
idea.
times.
I like that idea.
Yeah, it's just they're renewable in and of themselves. And so that was first round was just to shove them in here, and there's a few iterations to make sure that they died, so that we could generate enough pink slime to get the crystal to start
But you
doing.
had to add to it, right? It wasn't fast enough.
Yeah, we did a few things to add to it. Also needed to make sure that it had a way to get rid of its excess product, which was the meat slime
Hmm.
that wasn't the pink slime.
Right.
And I think at first I just used a big barrel, but that wasn't good enough. Eventually, in fact, we should be able to see it if we. Yeah, there it is. There is a. Eh, well, there's a basically there's an oven right there.
Oh, right. The
So
redstone
it
furnace.
shoves all the byproduct in, and it cooks it, and then it shoves it up here for our meat nuggets that I am still using right now. I don't see any
So
reason to
when I
stop using them.
when I did the intro, I was pointing at the fresh vagina that you had first given me from this first project, the meat nugget, and I framed it. I framed it over my crafting station. All right, cool. What's next?
Well, first, I needed to make this a hellscape because the chickens deserved it. So
I think if I
it
remember,
became
yeah.
lava stone. And then eventually I realized I could put a spawner in here that would make spiders spawn.
Hmm.
And later on, we realized they also produce pink slime because in all the wikis, it seemed to hint that they didn't.
Right,
But I just wanted a hellscape that the chickens were like constantly, that these mothers were watching their babies being born and grow up
right,
and then get stung by spiders and then die in like a flurry of like
right.
blood and egg feathers.
Yeah, just to clarify here, these chickens over here are mamas and daddies, and their drops get put into this dispenser, which every egg has like a 0.2% chance to turn into a chicken. So you have this constant machine gun of eggs getting over here, and then eventually little baby chicks are born, and they actually sit here in this hellscape and grow up. And then that machine there, once the moment that they hit adolescence, they get butchered for meat slime, which we have like 3 people just have been feeding off of for the last almost year. All right, cool,
So
man.
that was that. Basic power generation that we created through watermills, wheels that allowed us to just run some of these machines.
So you've
And
been
then,
running these 2 water wheels for like since right away, right?
oh yeah, oh man, you know what? This thing probably has a lot of stories to it too. The rock crusher has killed countless people. It has not yet killed me. But I have watched many a person die on this rock crusher.
Myself
It's
included.
just, oh my god, it's just so, and it's awful because it's so funny when it happens, and like,
And it was
oh my
I
gosh,
remember like not wanting to have what is that called? That hill step? What is that called?
I don't know. I think it's called
Step
step up.
assist. Yeah. Oh, that. Yeah.
Yeah,
There. So I remember not wanting to have that so that I wouldn't accidentally step assist on top of this damn thing. Like the most inconvenient place, but this hasn't moved since the day you put it down. Like
yeah.
we
I
just
mean,
added these guards. Like don't be a derp and run into it. But
yeah, because I mean, just even touching the side of it causes it. So the bars prevented that for the
yeah.
most part. I didn't normally touch.
Yeah.
And there were certain people. So I don't think Kyra ever died to it because he had boots that prevented it or something.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, prevented the crusher.
I definitely died to it twice, and I think Ace Games died to it twice.
Yeah, he died to it once in front of me, and I broke it so that his stuff wouldn't get messed up, and then also told him that like if it happened, make sure you broke it, and
Yeah.
then just get your stuff and then put it back,
Yeah.
and it'll reassemble.
So this cluster of
Yeah,
machines here, all this stuff, we kind of worked on it together quite a bit, but we really relied on your power setup, and that was uh, pretty much instrumental to all the things that I would later make. Could you go through like from the start, the humble beginnings to the end game of what you did for power?
yeah. So initially, around these power things were some like the coal, the survival generators, which was kind of the first thing we got.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they just would run to power up several different batteries, and then I would just use and then that battery would in turn come leave this thing. I also at one point had this little steam thing right here, the hobbyist steam engine, just because I got it for free. I think
Yeah, from a village
just as
probably.
something cool. Yeah,
And you
but
had to run. I think the big breakthrough that you had was that out of our whole community, you were the one that started using kinesis pipes from BC right off, and that saved you a lot of trouble because they were rather inexpensive compared to some of the more advanced wires, right?
oh yeah, yeah. I didn't have to deal with who's the other one? Oh yeah, so I didn't have to deal with the other power generators like the redstone. Um, I had one in my inventory a moment ago. Actually, they're underground. Yeah, I didn't have to deal with thermodynamics pipes yet because those were very expensive.
Yep, yep.
Even the lower ones that aren't as good, and so I stuck with these at least for this generation. Later on, you can see like where I had to switch into flux duct just because it didn't generate enough. But
Yeah, so
Um,
you see these thin lines here. This water wheel is producing a tiny amount of power, which is this thin line going into this battery here, and this battery is able to accept some, because there's some load somewhere in the system.
So yeah, first we started with survival, and then went to water wheel, um, and then from water wheel, there's an intermediary, but eventually we end up in nuclear power, which is where a very large amount of my power came from until solar. It both was what we needed to make plutonium and sorry, got lost.
No.
What we needed to make plutonium,
And
and
you
then
were the
also
first
was
player to do nuclear energy, and I think you're the first player that didn't do it like a chicken shit, or the only player that didn't do it like a chicken shit, like I did. I mean, I guess Locked did a little bit too. So I want to share this story. So I'm about to go into your nuclear power plant. Derm's coming over here. He's like, "So do you see my nuclear power plant?" And I've been like fucking scared of how it was gonna blow up because it was all complicated and I didn't understand it. And so he's like, "No, it's hiding right here from." I don't know if you were hiding it from C Gamer or not, but you were hiding it right here. And here's a suit that I could wear. And here's the now defunct nuclear base. And this is where Derm taught me about this amazing block, the retrieval node, which I have used excessively in this pack. So we'll get Derm back in here to talk about this room, but I think it's so cool, like the number of things that I learned in this room about how all this stuff works.
so I saw how big an explosion would make, and it looked like it was almost nine, like a like a nine chunk square.
Whoa.
Is what it looked like to me in the videos I saw. Like the center was the biggest crater, but it would affect all the others. And so I put this near my base because I wanted everyone to know later that the entire time that they were using machines in my base, that they could have died, and because I thought it was funny. And so now these are all really safe. Like once they're in there, these are fine. And there was obviously plans to have more. And so the idea would have been to run like a continuous inter quarry, which would supply uranium and keep all these things going and stuff.
And
I
you
have a
were
few holes in here.
transferring all this nuclear energy as EU. You were using the what are these called? These HV wire connectors and such to turn that into RF, right?
Yeah, so actually the excess was always getting pumped into. It's gone right now because it's in another dimension,
Mm-hmm.
but it was getting turned into the fluid, the MM.
Yep.
So, yeah, it was getting turned into that. So all the excess was getting turned into that. Um, so whenever these batteries would fill up and stop pulling, it would just all excess would go in there. Now,
Oh,
to get more,
you're talking about UU matter.
that's it.
That's
You,
it.
you.
Yep. Yep.
And so that's what was here, and it built up I don't know, a fair amount, like 30 buckets or something over a while. And but it wasn't producing enough. It was producing some plutonium, but not enough. So that's when we created this one, which is it's a hot reactor, which is why it keeps on damaging you because it's hot.
And this runs
So
on MOX, right?
yeah, it's called a MOX reactor. So it runs
So
on MOX, and it runs hot because it gets it the best EU output.
right. And you can make those stable too, even if they're hot.
Yes.
You
So
were running quad cells, right? You did all the automation to get up into quad. So that's contrasted to my reactors, which were there just to get plutonium, not to actually to farm the power. They were terribly inefficient, but I only did the automation for singles. So this is like and you have all this automation for all this stuff in this room, under the floor and around the sides, right?
yes. So MOX, a lot of the stuff in here is actually just so the MOX, it's like the two MOX reactors will work. There's actually another one underneath here. I think you knew that, but there's actually two. So there's one inside here, and then there's one below it.
Oh,
There would have
wow.
been a third. I didn't. And I kept, even though I stole some of the reinforced stone because I was lazy, I still didn't take all of it because if it disintegrated for whatever reason, I'd want it to go to the side and not up and
Yeah.
murder everything.
So speaking of this reinforced stone, I had to make a lot of reinforced stone to get to the end game, and that is the worst fucking block in this whole mod pack. Also, I'm going to complain for a moment about this fruit of Grisaya. It's not as good as a damn baked potato, so fuck you, Botania 2. Okay, go ahead.
So a lot of this is just that. So these pipes are The retrieval node is something I just tacked on, but basically you start over here with your uranium, and it breaks it up, it washes it, it thermal centrifuges it, and then it goes into the components that it makes, which is tiny uranium, um,
Hmm.
the bigger uranium, which is over there because it's shared with MOX,
And then you use
and
this
then
really
the
powerful auto
cytokines.
workbench to assemble your enriched uranium. Yeah.
Yes, and oddly enough, the fact that it was kind of slow, I mean, so it was cheap
Yeah.
is why I was using it, but the fact that it was slow was actually kind of a good thing because it moderated the system a little bit
Hmm.
to keep it from backing up. And then it would go into here and it would can it or put it in a rod,
Yep.
and then it would get multiple rods would turn into a quad rod, which would then get shoved into this,
And
and it
this
which
assembly
had
here is to make your empty rods for it all to work. And you were using
you
these
were using.
locked bookshelves to kind of as filters, I think.
Yeah, so it was a way that I could always keep some and not keep too many because I wanted it to autocraft or I wanted it to create continuously, so I didn't have to like manually put in something, but I didn't want it to use up all my iron, and so I used um, compact, which is only I don't remember 4 or something.
Hmm. Yeah, I just think it's really
That's
great how you manage to navigate all these cables side by side. Sometimes I love the extra utilities conduits, but sometimes they can be kind of troublesome in a confined space to get to configure, whereas something like an Ender IO item duct would be a little bit more straightforward. But you just the way that you've got these slave like this drawer controller and this controller slave, and you've got the fucking the differences between your transfer nodes out and your retrieval ones and all that. You got all these filters and stuff. I just think it's really cool, really thoughtful, and I used a lot of this stuff as inspiration for many of my builds too.
Yeah, like, I mean, a lot of it it's kind of so it's like what you had at the time. So we had an abundance of intervals because of you, and so that allowed me to use transfer pipes without having to burn through redstone, which made them really cheap. And so this is essentially like what I built with really cheap.
Yep.
Like you could like clearly it can be done better, but at the level we were and for what we wanted, there was no reason to do anything else.
Yeah.
I thought.
And I could never get over how ingenious your creations were, but still on this nasty, ugly cobblestone with like random ass holes in the wall going into different parts of your project that oops my buildings bumped into each other kind of a situation.
Yeah. Well, so this one, the ones touching each other, I could have hid, but I chose to keep them because I wanted because they became that came from AE, and AE was the step that came after this.
And a
And
long
I
step
will probably
indeed, right? You were basically
yeah.
so for anybody watching, this AE, these bright cables here, these fiber optic cables here, it's this really incredible crafting mod. But in this mod pack, it's gated behind this nuclear energy. You have to go through and teach yourself how to do this automation and how to do it in a safe way without murdering yourself to radiation poisoning, which we both did plenty of times.
Many times.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this chest blew up and there were 5 pieces of plutonium in here, and I don't know how to do this. But yeah, so I think Durham was the first player who legitimately did the grind for iridium and made his own crescent hammer and or crescent wrench. What is it? A Certus quartz wrench?
Certus quartz rinse. Yeah, you can't make the other one for some reason, but they required the same mats. One was just
Hmm.
nether quartz. But so what I was saying is because it was so much further until AE. When I built the AE thing, I when I noticed that the walls were beside each other, I started breaking them out intentionally. Um, because I wanted it to be if somebody decided to explore my AE stuff that they would see the nuclear reactor and that how close they had been the whole time
Oh,
because
great!
they were always because everybody was always giving me shit. They're like, "Germ's gonna blow up the world."
I know. Well, you were the
Not
first one.
wrong, but
Yeah, I was the only one that blew the whole world up. By the way.
but yours was like in a secure place underneath the water. It
Yeah.
was almost like a real life mistake. You had hidden it away just in case.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll definitely talk about that some other time. All right, cool. Well, let's check out some of the other stuff that you did. Like,
So probably the just how I handled resources that never I never really updated. Should have, but never really did. And then probably AE because that's what came after that. And then we can fiddle with magic, which I dealt with after all that.
yeah, okay. I'm floating above your base, but I don't know where I should go next. Oh, I see.
Right, yeah. So what the theme of my base was really hiding everything in plain sight. So the nuclear reactor was underneath the waterfall, but everything else is just integrated into the village itself. So
Yes, this looks well integrated. This fucking this monstrosity looks very well integrated into the village. Well done, sir.
well, it did originally. Well, this one didn't, but I mean the spider lava tower was originally a wizard tower
Yeah,
until I changed it recently.
that's true.
But
That's true. That looks great.
this is I thought this was kind of hidden in this one teeny
Oh
building where
right,
all
right,
my
right, right.
resources are.
So basically, and I remember, you came in here and you stripped out anything of value for so long, and you never replaced it for so long that people were like, "Oh, Derm's buildings are all empty. There's nothing in them. That's everything's out on display." And so I stopped like paying attention to your buildings a long time ago, and then you were like, "Oh yeah, come into my thing," and I was like, "What? There's this magic door here?" Yeah, it was kind of cool. All right, here.
So this is my resources that it's just like way too tiny. It should have been redone in probably another dimension, frankly, but that has other little pieces that it's just like all my builds things are hidden in weird spaces. Like down there is where I break blocks.
Okay, so tell me about this. You are really good, and I think in our group you're the most advanced with applied energistics, and I see you doing sub networks all the time. Okay, so these are formation planes, and this is a block breaker, and you have this auto smelting luck 3. Okay. So this is how you fortune blocks. And so I have, the whole time that I played this server, I fortuned all of my own blocks by hand. Build a huge tower, break it down, build a huge tower, break it down. Um, who was it that showed us this? Was it C Gamer that showed us the auto smelting?
Yes, he was the one that taught us that the auto smelter had a luck component inside of itself
Oh my
too,
god,
that it
yes.
kind of enhanced as well. And you realized that it also was based off of like so luck increased essentially like item drop. So things like lapis or redstone that drops more than one, like it kind of multiplies off each one. And what you realized is the Dragonite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
draconium.
That one, it dropped dust, which meant that it was affected by luck even more so, and then the auto smelting would allow you to just smelt off of them.
Yep. Yeah, and then
So
that played a this one last thing. This hammer here really played a big role once we got into mining the Nether, which you you probably saw there were some Nether ores in Derm's storage network. So some of the Nether ores that were unique were the steel ore, which are the pig iron ore, and the iridium ore. And you could use these smelting luck hammers to get, I think it was like almost quintuple drops. Something totally absurd because the steel ingots would pop out as like a dust ratio. Same with iridium. Okay.
mhm.
Go on.
Yeah, so the reason why it's shaped like this is because anytime I would make it so the formation planes you can push blocks out. Anytime they enter a network, it will forcibly, it'll shove them into these formation planes, depending on how you set their filters and whatever else. But because of the way AU works, and I've never figured out a way around this, it needs to be able to enter the network. And so this is a, I guess you would call it a subnetwork. I think generally when people, so it's not attached to my main network. It is separate and it uses AE things. It doesn't actually touch it. Its only entrance is through this retrieval node that pulls stuff out of the caches above. But the only way I've known to get things to go through a formation plane without it stopping is to stick an export and import bus on the same chest, and it'll cycle through the network essentially, and it'll constantly like fill the formation planes. And so this retrieval node has a filter on it, and it basically, I think at the moment, it pulls any draconium, electrotine, nether quartz, or lapis lazuli immediately into it. And the reason why it's shaped like this is because for some reason the autonomous activator was breaking on the same plane as itself
Yeah.
if I had it there.
Yeah, I've noticed that
Uh,
before.
yeah, that was kind of weird. And I would have used the dynamism tablet, except, and this is something maybe to do like in the future, when the dynamism tablet uses a hammer, it breaks the one in the middle, but it doesn't break any of the ones on the side. And even weirder than that, it turns them all invisible.
I have had trouble with the dynamism tablet in my mob farm, and I never did spend the time to iron it out once I got what I needed, but I had nothing but trouble with it.
Yeah, so it has some weird properties to it. So I switched to autonomous activator hammer and then made this shape because it was not only was it breaking the blocks in that pattern, it was breaking itself
Yeah.
because it would do it in a planar, and I couldn't figure out how.
I
Whatever.
think I
So
remember
I did
this
it in the
problem.
shape. Yeah. I
I wanted to ask you, did you? So I have a bunch of autonomous activators at my wither farm, and I don't actually have them powered. I just hit them with the redstone signal, and they work, which is weird. So I don't know if you just wanted a redstone clock, you'd be able to just tick away at this thing without having to power it up. Something in the future, certainly. I mean, at this stage of the game, a tesseract is no big deal, but
yeah. I mean, like I just. But
I
yeah,
guess
I
fair
don't
enough.
know.
Like once you've got a applied energistics, a tesseract isn't a problem anymore.
You know, it was. I mean, I considered it a personal journey to be able to auto craft them
Hmm.
because that was certainly a pain in the arse. We can walk through that, but
Yeah, so
we can go
I
back
never
up.
did that either. I just batch crafted them. But yeah, that's one of
See,
the
yeah,
things that
this
I like
is
about your base is that you have gone to great lengths to craft stinking everything auto crafted, which I abuse the crap out of, particularly for the resources to make these ME networks.
oh yeah. So like oh yeah, it's totally full and of junk. Like I haven't I haven't gone through. Who knows what's clogged it up this time.
I want to just point out this draconic chest is not an inexpensive recipe by any stretch of the imagination. Okay.
Yeah, I went in last. Oh, actually, now that I said that, I need a moose.
What? Where's that? What's that? Was that the
Oh,
input chest?
it was just the other chest that was missing from there. I kind of anytime it clogs up, I rotate them so it fixes itself.
Oh,
But
sure.
whatever. So yeah, this is just the thing, and then like this is definitely one of those that I should have upgraded. Like I did what I had at the time, and then later it would definitely be behoove anyone to upgrade it to like not necessarily the pipes. The pipes are fine, but just make it bigger, more open, etc.
I still will
But
never get over the fact that you spread out your upgrades so that all the slots fill up. Every time I see that, I wanna like stack them.
gosh, it's like I needed to just I
Yeah.
don't know. It's like a symmetry thing. I'm not sure what it is.
Well, so on our way out, we didn't we had a no quarry rule for the overworld, but we have really easy access to the mining dimension, which is always sunny, and that I did end up exploiting that quite a bit. He's got his mining dimension here. Well, I guess we'll go through. But so once you got the 3 hour craft of the quarry, then things changed a lot. So this is Derm's kind of base of operations. We see already that he's got some solar panels and some ultimate hybrids, so he's kind of stepped into that. And this is super endgame stuff. Okay. And here you must be preparing what?
It's creating just a bunch of UU matter. So this is essentially like a partial piece of the setup that used to be in the nuclear lab, I guess.
Okay.
Um, that one created it in more slow motion. This one creates like it's not a whole lot. I think it's like 64 bedrockium a day or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's
64
still
bedrockium a day. That's not so shabby. You have to start combining these solar panels into.
oh yeah. This is actually this is the Ender Quarry's power source right here. It actually
Oh,
is
great.
over. It's got more than what it needs.
So this
But
molecular
it's also has
transformer
this.
was definitely a pain in the ass throughout the whole mod pack. Like it was not
It
fun.
also it does weird things. So like, say I attach these two connectors to it, and you'd think it'd do like 1100 or whatever, but it doesn't. It'll only do 500 off these connectors. But if I stick it to two different kinesis pipes, like if I have a kinesis pipe, a an HV wire connector coming off the top of a kinesis pipe and an HV wire connector coming off the bottom, for some reason it will take both of those power sources and it'll like make it go even faster. So this is actually slower than my original setup, but
Yeah, I
fiber.
had a lot of trouble with that too, and I remember there was a growing pain phase there of trying to convert the energy types for, in particular, this contraption, this molecular transformer. I had an assemblage directly over my base while I was, building that stuff. I'd throw like I would process like a whole entire 10,000 cache at a time trying to get that stuff stocked up. Because when you're
Yeah,
going
I
to
mean,
build the creative items, I know that you're working on these ultimate hybrid solar panels. Those things, they take so many resources. They take so much power invested into them. And you have to just kind of get the stacking effect because you keep shoving all that back into your UU matter to make the next iridium stuff. Takes a long time to
mhm.
get momentum, but yeah.
So, um, yeah, like oddly enough, you don't need a lot of scenario, so it's not a huge thing. Like
Dude, I would
you
go
do in
through.
the end,
Yeah, yeah. At the very end
but
is when you need all of it.
yeah, because each one, I think each ultimate thingy maybe takes 16 or
Yep,
something,
yep.
and then you need 8 of those to make a bigger one.
Hmm.
So yeah, these resonant solar panels are expensive as heck as far as electrotine is concerned. So that turned me off of them.
Yep.
But they were one of the most complicated
Did you know
AE
that
crafts.
you can make the LED solar panels out of UU matter?
Oh
So the
my!
first tier you can make, and I ended up with. Well, I'll show you later. Let's see. Actually, since we're in this dimension, why don't you come over to this building? And
I have your teleporter.
oh, I don't have it.
Just called. Let's see.
Wait, no.
We called it something.
Hold on.
Scrub it.
Shift.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had enough of these leadstone. What I'm looking at right now is my UU matter set up after it was done, and I used it to make leadstone solar panels, and now we've got this field of ridiculous. But anyways, so this is my operation. The reason why Derm and I are both in this dimension is that it's always sunny, which is a nice. You don't have to go and
Unless
make
it's
it.
cloudy. It's the only time.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
'Cause I saw my power dip one day and I was like, what? That's how I came in here. And my solar thingies were showing minimum, or I think they were minimum. And the only difference was it was cloudy. But it didn't seem to do it all the time when it was cloudy. So I don't know.
All right.
But I did see that.
Well, I'm gonna go back to your base, and we can move on to the next.
Alrighty. So let's see.
So we did
So that was
supplies.
so that was resources. So probably a network would be
Okay.
next. That's what came after that. Once I got enough resources that allowed us to access, and then enough plutonium. So those were kind of conjunction. If you notice, there's a fair amount of plutonium. There's 1,200 or
And you
so.
needed the resources and the energy to make all the energy making stuff so that you could get the nuke going, to get more energy, to make more stuff, to get that plutonium, to make iridium, to make this network.
Exactly. So the nuke and the resource center fed into each other till eventually it churned out enough plutonium that I could get the wrench, which allowed me to build this network. And this is kind of a compact one, just because I wanted it to fit inside of several chunks. But if I was to build it again, of course I would do it in like a bigger place, particularly the smelter. But this is the beginning. Some of the pieces here would be moved, but are still here because they're there. The inscribers, which make the chips that you need. Also, there's the other chip maker thing, which is down here, which is the other kind of like stage that we were in that we
Okay,
needed
yeah.
to
So a couple
ship.
themes here, and I think I did help add some lasers to yours once you, because
Yes.
the thing to remember is that Derm, uh, he had the most power and he had the most convenience automation, and the network's already done. So whenever I needed to do anything, I would often be scavenging his infrastructure, and sometimes I would mostly only contribute if there was a bottleneck that I hated. So I'd be like, here's a bunch of resources. Let's get through this bottleneck. So this laser room here, you end up making thousands and thousands and thousands of these chips to use in Derm's really ingenious kind of networking problems that he's had to solve. Like how do you make it so that you can order the end product of something that has 5 different microcrafts at 3 different tiers of development. So that's what a lot of this stuff is here. And then I see the singularity so that you can access your network at a different location, right?
Yes. So you saw one in the resource area, which was a computer, and that's this one up here, and then the one below us is probably a Mac. Um, and I actually ended up changing the network a bunch. I don't know if you remember, but if you look back here, like you'll notice that stuff is missing. Like that there's a big blank space. It's because a lot of these are inside of sub. So all of these things are run off one section, but it actually connects. Like even though there's this big dense cable here, it isn't actually running all this. There's a single line that it connects into a P2P, which runs all the way back to the main processors.
Mm.
So the ME network, whatever they're called, cubes. I don't know. the
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 controllers, yeah.
Yeah, the controllers are no longer here. They're way down in the basement, and
Oh,
everything is run off P2P inside. This one's actually a full 32, so if can't add anything more up here, I need to create another P2P, but whatever. So this is essentially the if you want to walk to somewhere and craft something, this is where you go. I don't know why I put trash
so
can in
tell me
front of the
about
pen.
this is the stuff that has character. So tell me about all this stuff on the back wall. This is your like discarded. I don't need this stuff anymore wall. I can tell. So what's the story behind all this?
Exactly. So here's the charger that I originally was connected to this network because it's how we charged the things until we eventually I stopped charging because I just have tons of charged quartz from mining.
Yep.
Even though it's a very rare resource,
But you're
you
putting it
eventually
into that triple luck, crusher
yeah,
thing and all that stuff.
exactly. So originally we had this here, and so it didn't need it anymore, so it got shoved over there. The this cache was probably bone. Um, the pellets are here because anytime you want to make RTG pellets, they're extremely radioactive. So the best way is that you can take off this plutonium, shove the RTG pellet thing there, and if you craft any, it'll put it inside of it, and then you can take the cache wherever you want to go.
So I remember
Because
actually, RTG pellets were so difficult. They were a huge wall to climb over as far as progression goes. And Derm had the first. He had the first nuclear reactor, and so I would actually barter for things that I needed, like RTG pellets. I would give him a bunch of some resource that was like a quality of life thing, and he would give me like the 3 RTG pellets that I needed for whatever project. It was really cool. I like that part about having some distinction between each other's projects, is that we had these kind of cool interactions.
and the crafting table, the crafting station is quite literally what I built the rest of this off of. It has been there the whole time because it's what I crafted before I built the rest of the network.
And you've got this
Um,
chest here
I
because these supplies get used in the
yeah,
crafting table.
and this is just kind of a discarded ender tank that could become something else. It's currently filled with probably life essence that gets attached to that
Yeah,
network.
looks like it.
It's because I didn't realize or forgotten sort of. It was kind of a combination that blood and life essence aren't the same thing,
Hmm.
and so I tried to connect life essence to my smeltery, which we'll visit in a sec, and it didn't work because I needed blood.
So off in the horizon here, I see this tower of spider silk.
Yeah.
I'm still upset that you never did anything with that.
Well, I mean, it was. I don't know. I don't know what I would have done trap people in it. I'm not sure. I put it there because it was in my. You mine it. You mined a lot of it because we're using Silk Touch.
Yeah.
Oh man, you want to see like the cheesiest, like the easiest blood magic thing that totally alters the server?
One
Like,
one moment before you do that, I want to point this out. So Seagamer had he was the most technologically advanced base all the time. He always had the best armor. He spent the most time. He was very efficient, and Derm's very creative, and I was of course preying upon Derm's creativity. So we had like this different kind of miniature arms race between the different bases. And so Seagamer one day he spent a whole ton of resources to make a fast way to get from his base to the main base of the server. In some respects, Derm's base is the main base of the server. And then so Dern just adorned it with things randomly because there was this thing like in the sky off in the distance, like what the fuck is that? And so now he just throws down his rock hives. These have never moved. They look hideous. Um, Derm grew this fucking tree And I remember C Gamer was quite upset because
Well, it broke it. I didn't realize it would. Generally, stuff grows around and doesn't grow like into,
yeah.
but in this case, it did not.
So I mean, it ends up looking cool when you take the ride. You get to fly through this tree and then a mountain later on. But yeah, there's some things here like this is Derm's. So that blue thing, blue gray thing off there is that's the spawn point. And so Derm's got the first city, but Locke he let's see if I can get over here. So Locke started his base over here, and I'm definitely gonna give you guys a tour through that. But Locke would come out here to the land between their bases and be like, I'm just gonna do all my rituals and shit here. And I always thought it was funny. It's like Derm is a stone's throw away, and they're summoning fucking lightning bolts and Gaias, and they've got ritual things going on here, and there's cursed earth everywhere, terrifying people. And yeah, it just seemed like there was this fucking chaos pit between their two bases. Okay, so what just happened? What did you just do now?
So I realized this very far into this server. There's something called an imperfect ritual stone, and if it has a lapis lazuli block on it, you just right-click it, and it makes it nighttime.
Super cool.
So you can change it from day to night.
So what you're
Just on
saying
command.
is I should have actually played the game instead of just using admin powers. Okay.
So I use this anytime I wanted a ritual because once you hit it, I think it's like I don't know 3 or 4 minutes until you can do the ritual instead of
How
waiting.
many? How many? Okay, so how many times did you have to do the ritual?
Uh, I think only three because I did it the first time and got like what I wanted, and then I did it. I needed to upgrade that one sigil, and then I did it another time for some reason. Oh, I did it another time because I wanted more curse.
Yeah, so once you upgrade the sigil, it becomes way more easy to use, but also it locks you out of a few recipes. You have to do it again to get another copy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. So you wanted to show me some. Let's see where we're at here. So we covered the kind of the progression of your base.
Yeah, and then the item duct tubes. Since you introduced him over there, I was gonna bleed into his thing. It ended up with an issue for some reason. We had to cut them. I don't remember what happened exactly, but we basically took what remained. I guess once we all had jetpacks, they were. I think you didn't like them being right there, and you considered it an eyesore,
I
and
did.
so
I did.
you took it. You're like, I'm just going to take all this down, and I was like, well, just take it up to the sky, and then because it is kind of useful.
Yeah,
Uh,
I wasn't gonna fess up to that, but thanks. Now that's on the record. Yeah, I was.
well, I wasn't sure what happened, but I mean, I certainly wasn't going to like get rid of it because it was very useful. But I took what became of the pieces that were taken and made it into how we navigate through my
Which I love. If you see somebody else traveling through these things, it looks so cool. I really like how you put the processing computers down here. I definitely learned late how important the co-processing units are. You can make these really large crafting stations, but then get just choked on how fast they build. And I see here this. I know there's a reason for this. I think it's to maximize the ME interfaces.
Yeah, there's so I can stick them in a cube, and it allows them to touch each other's. That's so funny to me. Touch each other's molecular assembler.
Oh,
Uh,
Mr. Beauregard.
no means no. It's so that they can share molecular assemblers without me having to build essentially more. So, like generally, when you're crafting things, you're not they're not going to use each other's assemblers because you're crafting one or two things at a time,
Mhm.
and it doesn't like hurt them to shove all these recipes into things. It just allows them to use it's less space, and it allows them to use each other's assemblers. Because the only thing in this cube that actually takes um, a channel is the interfaces themselves, and so you can actually just stick this glass cable anywhere you want and into an interface, and then it'll connect everything inside of it. Now you don't want it to touch. If you notice, these aren't touching, and I wasn't sure about that, but if at any point they touch, then they can share all those channels too, and then that becomes messy. So this is 8 interfaces in a kind of a cube. There may be a slightly better way to do this cube. I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but
I ended
I
up
think
doing mine in a pipe. Like I would do all the 8 interfaces touching each other, and then I would just surround them. And it wasn't the most efficient use of the faces of the interface, but it did pretty well. You've seen that before. You've seen me set it before. How effective was this? I can't seem to like right click on your stuff. I assume that's because of your block permissions.
What was that? I'm sorry.
You're
The
fine.
lock.
Can I forget? Don't these interfaces have a UI when you right click on them?
Oh shoot, yeah. So that's where the next part goes because I wasn't sure and then I forgot. So let me because I had to add a security thing to add a wireless, and so
Oh,
I need to make you a biometric.
so I can't actually. Oh, but I can use this.
Yeah, because I think I said it's permissions here. Right click that thing so it becomes you. I think
Okay,
that's what you do to it.
I'm right clicking. Shift right click it.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay, biometric card for tub.
Okay, yeah, hand it back to me.
Okay, I dropped it.
All right, let's go back to Smeow Meow Beans. Let's just go to the brains of the operation that are buried
Meow
underground.
meow beans. Did what's his
There's an
name?
episode.
Oh,
This
okay.
is an episode of Community. It's called Meow Meow Beans, and it was like oddly enough, anytime someone mentions China and it's like kind of social, like you have like numbers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Orwellian nightmare. You mean?
Yes, yes. I think of Meow Meow Beans, which is kind of the Meow Meow Beans. And so this one has an S in front of it because I wanted it to be the bottom on that list, and the only way I could do it was making it alphabet. So it became Meow Meow Beans.
Okay, I got this card. What do I do with this card? Deposit,
You
withdraw.
just keep it in your inventory, and it'll allow you to access. You should be able to access everything
Oh,
again.
okay.
I think we're about to find out. I had to make this so that I could make a wireless thingy for a golem for reasons
For the
of me
backpack,
wanting
right?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The
Before we
backpack.
finish here, I want you to talk about your oh my god, your golems because that was one of the things that you did from the first project, and it definitely showed up again. So that was super cool.
Yeah, they're just funny. I haven't really used them a whole lot besides my own entertainment, but yeah, they were going to pop up more, particularly because they're good for the. Can you access yet?
Nope.
Hmm.
A deposit, withdraw, craft, build, and security.
You should be able to do everything. Here, I think I might be able to just turn it off. That's fine.
Well, I could probably game mode one. Let's see.
Yeah, well, I mean, you
I
have
can't.
access to the
Ooh,
security system now.
I can't. Okay, well, we'll leave that for another day, but that's pretty cool. So, I wanted to ask you, how good did the fluid assembler work for you? The ME fluid assembler, because to me it was a big pain in the ass and good for like one recipe.
So it only exists by itself. So there's only a few like so the plastic sheets recipe I think is really useful for clay, the dirt plus water bucket plus slag,
Mm-hmm.
and I used it to make waterstone, which
Oh, interesting.
acts as both stone and water as far as plants are concerned. So you can stick dirt on top of it and it'll grow.
What? Where did you do that?
I didn't realize that. It's in the magic place. I'll show you.
Okay.
So I didn't realize that until I did it. And the dirt would turn wet, and I didn't know why. It's because it's sitting on waterstone. I just did it because it was cool. So, are you below me?
Nope. I am at the
No.
golems right now.
Oh, you're. You don't want to show them the back room and the smeltery?
Okay. Okay, let's talk about. So you tried to automate all of this, every single liquid metal you tried to make, every alloy, so that you could just order it and it would make it, right?
Yeah. So this
And
place
that's
ended
this
up
nightmare.
clusterfucked.
Yeah.
A lot of this is the. Yeah. Well, I mean, I did basically automate it. Um, I say basically because there's, yeah, this ended up a nightmare. Frankly, because of draconium, the draconic things. Because adding in liquid into smelteries via a via automation is like just a nightmare in and of itself.
This fluid import bus is what you're talking about?
Yeah, the fluid import bus, and it also has weird glitches with it, and et cetera, et cetera. But essentially, I made it so that each of these smelteries has its own special things that they create.
Mm-hmm.
And they either create Invar or they create, like Pocophinium or something of that nature.
I did all
And
those
so
by
three out
hand.
of the Uh, yeah, forget that. And so all of these have, or sorry, three out of the four have a sensor on them that says a certain level of fluid. So two of them, it's blood, and I had to create subnetworks to get them to read it without reading the blood that's in my network.
Hmm.
And then one of them is experience. And the experience one is the one I had the biggest problem with. The blood is filled up by blood blocks. It shoves blood blocks in there, it smeltery cooks them
So
down, and
that's
it
what
makes.
I did too. I know in the beginning you were using cows that you were pushing into the smeltery for blood.
Yes, so that's where it comes to, like, if someone wanted to upgrade this. In fact, if we did another server, I can 100% tell you what I would do is I would have two I would essentially have a spawner that would turn on if the blood level got too low, and it would also the system would also still craft blood blocks, but it would have a cow spawner that it would turn on if it got too low, and it would, depending on which of the smelteries needed it, it would blow those cows into that smeltery, and
Oh man.
they would make not only blood, but they would also make meat, and the meat would be, because when they die in the smeltery, they still make their drops,
Yep.
and so you grab up the drops with the
And you make
that
more
one item.
bloodstone, so you get
Yeah,
yeah.
you grab up the drops, and then you can make more bloodstone. And
Sick.
so it'd be a neat, murder factory for you making blood for your Bocavinium and
Yeah.
your other stuff. So and it would probably work a little better, and it'd be oddly enough, it'd be more compact because you could do it tall instead of wide.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we just went through all this, and a lot of this junk inside of here, I know you've ventured off,
Yeah.
was so that I could fill liquids, so that I could fill the tesseract. This fluid transposer is for, I think it's just the tesseract and something else.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
that's all it does. Is it's just
I never automated
uh,
that stuff. I ended up using like massive smeltery.
yeah, the fluid transposer is tesseract, and then eventually it would have been uh, the flux ducts, because I really hated making
Oh my
those.
gosh, yes,
Those made
those
me so
those
mad.
were not fun. Okay, so we're about an hour in. Um, why don't you kind of tell me about like what inspired you to start working on magic? How far did you get advanced in your own base before you kind of switched gears to magic? I know that in this mod pack, this is FTB Infinity Evolved Expert Mode. The tech tree is very well consolidated, and the magic tree is also. It kind of feels like a separate line of progression. So why did you switch? At what stage? Because I know we started out tech heavy. Did you switch? And then what inspired you for your next project?
So I was extremely deep into. So we had already hit AE, um, and so I most of the stuff that you saw had already been built in one form or the other. Like, I hadn't finished the Tesseract integration or anything, but for the most part, all of that had been built when I switched into Magic. So I had a ton of resources, I had a ton of automation, and it just allowed me to grind through Magic just really
And that's how I feel
brute
like
force.
I'm approaching every mod pack that has magic in it. I feel like I do the same thing. I get my tech running because the tech is where the ore doubling is, and then I work on increasing my efficiency with the tech, and then by the time I hit magic level or magic mods and start to explore them, I'm overwhelming their progression with my tech stuff. And so I never like I feel like I don't know that I'll ever be able to break that trend. What do you? I know that I think that you could probably, but neither of us have ever started, started our magic stuff.
So there are pieces from when I did Magic the first time that I could certainly see this time. I just wasn't sure how they melded in. Like, I would probably start. So I never really made a true wood farm. Like, I do have a wood farm now. It doesn't produce a whole lot. If you notice, I have some golems that are doing wood stuff here because I think it's funny. Um, but for the most part, they're really there for my own entertainment. Like, they grow trees and they break them down, but
Hmm.
they're not actually that
And that's an
efficient.
extraordinarily simple magic integration. I think Kyers is right next. We try to avoid loading Kyers chunks, don't we?
Only because for some reason his
Tree farm breaks.
yeah, his tree farm like fires in like strange angles, even though it's only supposed to fire straight ahead.
Yeah.
As it's loading, it'll fire at like a weird angle, and then sometimes it'll hit a critical block, and then it'll just cascade,
Gotcha.
and it's a dumpster fire.
Yeah,
And
I'll
but it
maybe let
should,
him give me the tour. But
yeah, like his base should work very well. It's only just weird loading
that's
mechanics
what I
that
like
are
about
causing
his
it.
base is that he likes Botania, or historically he was interested in Botania, and his base is an example of a base that starts with a heavy magic focus.
Yes,
So
and so you could,
yeah.
but what I would probably do is you start with trees and just do a tree farm. So do his tree farm that is mana, but also do the aspects of Thaumcraft that involves trees. Like you, by building an animal farm and by building a tree farm, you can create kind of like a loop of essentia that creates some amount of power and creates just the primary essentias for you that allows you to do some amount of duplication and some amount of these other things
Mm,
that you wouldn't be able to normally. And then from that base, you could jump into tech really hard because
right.
it would allow you to create resources that you didn't have
Yeah.
and duplicate resources you didn't have. And so I could see that as a leaping point. But you would, if you're in tech, there is not a reason to jump into magic until late. Whereas like there's several points when you're in magic where you could then jump into tech and excel really quickly. That would be the only thing I would say. There's at no point where you're in tech and you can go, you know what would be great right now is if I use this magical thing. It's like, well, no, I have tech for that.
Right. Right. All right.
Whereas in magic, it's the other way. But so I jumped into the magic real late, but so I crewed brute forced it at first, and eventually needed to create um, more efficient things. So the easiest way to get there is to go through the spider's mouth.
Oh, this is new. Okay. Cool. Well, it's
Uh,
not new, but it's
Yeah, so go down, yeah. But
and you
I
need
thought
a
it was neat.
security pass to get through there, right? Like you added maybe a.
Uh, oh, did I do that? Yeah, I might have actually turned it on that way. It wasn't intended to be that way, but
So welcome to King Slime, also Derm's magical hideaway. The world is loading in right now. Your blood temple is very interesting looking. I think it looks really cool. It's almost like you've got liquid blood waterfalls, and there's
so
shiny
yeah,
blocks on the inside.
yep. So they are. I mean, they are liquid blood. They are. It is liquid blood waterfalls,
it
but they. It was meant to look like a building, which is what I was going
looks
for.
great, dude. What are
You'll get to
dude?
hear Cody commenting on how much of a horrible person I am for building it.
It's lovely. So what is this?
So
This is
So,
life
in
as
fact, there's stairs in here, and I wouldn't try to break them because it'll immediately crash you. But if you're bored, you can go all the way down, and each one of these layers has kind of its own sort of theme.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Oh,
Did
we're
you
in the blood temple.
did you use open tanks, open blocks tanks, and fill them with fluid to make them look this sweet?
Yeah. So each layer. So yeah, this one's life essence blood tank, and that's where the thing is. That's why I had that tank there. The tank in the AE base
Yeah.
is because I would stick it onto one of these, and I would turn it on, and it would fill them up.
I just
All
realized that you have 3 max level fucking blood altars with crystal clusters on all 3 of them.
I had to because they all did things, and I needed to like it allowed them to transform blood.
Wow, dude, this is incredible. I am in
Let's
awe right now. Like the
so we
amount.
can fly through the outside, but let's venture in through the inside because I
Okay.
don't know. It's got stairs, and the stairs have
Okay.
gravestones
Okay.
because they're.
Did you die there?
It's the Adams family. So so oddly enough,
This is
this
so
is built for
cool.
people with step assist, but it kind of is a pain in the arse if you haven't. So each one of these is themed. So the top one is just kind of like
Crafting,
I
right?
don't know, blood, more blood. Get me some blood. It's all about. And then this one's your Thaumcraft stuff. So your arcane stone, your corroded like
Are you starting at the
glowstone.
bottom?
No. That's where we are right now. That's what I was describing. So that's just all these are. But this one is actually where the orb sits. So the blood orb sits here, and it's the center. It's where all the blood would go to if I was to build more altars, and it would get fed out of this altar. And they're all connected via ender tanks. So I took your idea with the ender tanks, but I noticed that if you use transfer nodes, it pulls out of the ender tank faster than just the ender tank by itself. So That's what I went with. Oh, and there's a life essence bedrockium drum that makes sure it doesn't go in.
Holy Jesus.
That filled up in like an hour and 20 minutes or something. Um, so
That's so much blood.
yeah, so I put it there because sometimes when you do really big things, you don't know how much blood you're using. So I wanted to be able to gauge it. So if I needed to add more witches, I could, and I can add more witches on demand because I created something ghetto. We'll see that down here.
I think so speaking of ghetto, I tried messing with the witches too many times, and I think in my future builds, I'm just going to have a mob spawner that I can turn on or off.
Yeah, that's what I basically did here. Now they keep on despawning if you do it that way. So I've named a few of them.
Mhm.
And you can see the glow over here or something that I'll show you in a bit, but that's actually that's the efficiency of Badania that I've you'll
Ooh.
see that in a minute.
Okay,
We'll
okay,
get
I
over
won't
there.
go through. I won't spoil it. These blocks
Yeah.
look sick, dude. I love
Don't
this.
they? They're
Yes.
like creepy and like you almost like you don't want to touch them. I don't know. I thought they were cool as shit. So yeah, this was just kind of like a weird one. And this is where all the blood is made because there's a ritual of suffering.
Okay, what's up with this below the witches? Dude, these stairs look so awesome. And these gravestones, did you craft these or did you mine all these up?
I mined all those up. So this is the blood temple.
Dude, I love this. This looks so great.
I wanted, like, I figured if you were, a blood god, you'd make something gaudy as shit. And I thought that what's more gaudy than gold? And I forgot to make more arcane thingy pedestals. I didn't really use blood magic rituals too much, except to make guys.
Dude,
But
this looks so
eh,
cool. Like, well done, sir. This is incredible. I'm getting fucking attacked by this taint swarm.
yeah,
Okay,
because
so
he's well inside.
talk about this taint business here and what
Why am I here? Well,
yeah.
so I was here for a lot of reasons. One of them is my original idea for generating mana was to use this plant called a taint thistle
All right, I'm
that
going to
like
the taint
sucked up
thistle.
taint blocks around it.
Okay, here
So
it
it sucked
is.
up taint blocks around it,
So what did you
and
do to make this thing work?
inside the middle here is a tainted node. Now, originally, it was just going to be the environment itself that would cause the taint. Um, but later, I realized I needed a tainted node to create it, and then I also had to create several barriers to prevent it from consuming my entire base. Um,
Which is where the ethereal bloom comes in and why you're still using dirt instead of grass.
yep, and so
So
I was going to.
you were gonna use these everfull urns to create a limitless supply of cobblestone, right?
So I took a limitless supply. Well, the first thing is the reason why I created this environment is I was going to place down wood. So I was going to have a tree farm. It was going to place down wood. The wood would turn into like tainted, and then these taint thistles would consume it. Now I realized that they weren't quite doing it right, and it would turn into mob spawners, and then that was bad. It was no bueno.
Okay.
And so it just took forever, and it wasn't producing enough mana, and I thought that it was just the way it was doing it. And so then I took an unlimited supply of cobblestone that I could generate, and I decided to do something you're not supposed to do in Thaumcraft, which is overload the cauldron or don't use it.
And make
So,
taint. You were using your
yes,
okay. And these everfulls, these kept the cauldrons full because they would eventually run out of water.
yes. So I realized that these could fill the cauldrons because anytime it expelled Tane, it would like empty itself.
Yep.
Or anytime it does a reaction, it kind of slowly drains. And so it was just dumping in a boatload of cobblestone and then generating a bunch of flux, and then the taint thistle would consume it, would make mana, and then it would fire off the mana into my mana pools, and that's how it was supposed to work. Now we realized much later that the taint thistle produces like minuscule fractions of mana. It's quite awful in mana generation.
Really unfortunate
But
too because your idea was so clever.
and it's just so cool looking, so I left it because it's just cool.
Yep.
Just to because I guess you could say the overarching theme of here is magic decadence and where it can go wrong.
Yeah.
And so we're in a tainted land, which I picked because, like I said, originally I was going to use the land itself to do the things, but since I created a floating base, I just decided to have a tainted node because that worked better.
Okay.
And the areas themselves are divided. So like Thaumcraft to your whatever direction this is. I don't know how directions work, me. To your east, to your west is Witchery. To the south is like the Thaumcraft's ritual altar, and then to the north is the blood altar.
So where did you do? Where did you? Did you do most of your witchcraft here on this island, or did you end up using other people's bases? Because I ended up using Kyre's witchery stuff a lot when I was going through progression.
No, exclusively on this island. I didn't really realize. I knew Kyra had done stuff in Witchery, but I hadn't seen his Witchery stuff, so I didn't really know what it was, where it was. And so this base also has some of the blood magic stuff. So there's obviously Britannia on here. So it's
Mm.
Witchery and Britannia
And so
kind of combined
kind
on
of
here.
explains why Durham has these large towers of reeds and things that are excessively high. So he's trying to boost his altar power to meet certain minimums. We did a
Yes.
lot of collaborative work on these altars here, like the dragon eggs. They came from my bee farm. The special head, I think Durham found the recipe for the special head that gave us the maximum bonus. So yeah, there was a lot of really cool things here. A lot of progression. You see a lot of like hasty needs stuff, like all these hobgoblins here. Did you ever get Koboldite going in Witchery or?
No. These are a recent addition just because as I was flying around looking for something,
Yeah.
I can't remember what, I saw these guys, and so I had previously set a coven mark with my teleporter, the the enhanced charm of
Yep.
dislocation, and so I just you fly by them, you left click them, and
Yeah.
then they appear here.
So a couple things here with these witchery things. Mobs, they're hard to interact with. They're hard to get to move around. You can't use like a safari net, but you can use the enhanced charm of dislocation to teleport them places. You can this, which is how I ended up with like 20 sheep in my fucking base when I logged in one day. Thanks, Derm. Same with these coven witches and things of that nature. So
Indeed.
you got
So
like here's an example of a wither farm. This is gonna make withers and drop them through this teleportation thing to a kill chamber somewhere.
it's on the floating island, which we'll get to when we get to the Doomstar.
The Doomstar, yeah. So yeah, so Derm
Yeah.
found this fucking biome here, or rather, C Gamer found it, I think, next to one of the only deserts in the whole server, and he set up all of his magic stuff here, which is like he's been really good with these crystals here to stabilize his ritual. Really good
And
with
there's
applied energistics, and here we got this sub network here, which I used extensively because he took the time to automate Botania blocks like this living rock, I think, and or living wood and living rock, something like that.
yeah, the living stone.
Yeah, I think he
And
went AFK for like 2 weeks, and I had robbed him of over 30,000 blocks of stone from his network.
yeah, so there's also the upside down tree, and then the several different rituals that are involved in witchery. The cauldron, which took me forever to figure out, and then the summoning of a demon. Now, I didn't realize that you could barter with a demon until much later. So the village that is in the desert biome is suspiciously empty of people because I might have sacrificed the vast majority of them to
Oh
summon
my!
demons to then kill.
What's this? Okay, let's talk about this slab here, to the west of your base, and then let's talk about your sphere if you're still there.
Wait, I need to tell you about the Botania thing. Wait, to the west of my base. Oh, when I played with blood magic.
So this is a failed ritual, right?
Yes, so it is a blood ritual. It's called Ritual of the Blood Moon. I didn't realize it was working. It's just why you have these two failed pieces. In fact, you can see bedrock on the bottom because it will rip up anything. Essentially, it creates a moon, just like you can see off in the distance, the Iron Moon, which I created through this ritual. Essentially, I was trying to create a tainted version of it. That was my first one, and I didn't realize it was working. And when I canceled the ritual, I flew around for a bit and came back to this.
Mm.
So it was working,
Okay.
just I didn't realize it. The second one is me lowering it because I thought I had put it too high, and then that one told me that I needed to put the other one even lower because I didn't want it to have bedrock.
Interesting. Okay.
But here, let me show you the thing that we were
Okay.
seeing through the tower,
Yes.
and then we can go to the dooms. So this is how I chose to automate Botania. I use Cakeramyces to generate mana off of cake. The cake is placed there via a ME formation plane, which is the same thing we use to with the mining thing in the resource area.
Hmm.
And then there's a subnetwork involving chickens, plants, a cow named Bessie who's constantly getting milk, and that poor girl's probably tired. And and again, using kind of a network that has a pseudo inventory, but not really a real one through this interface that I filled up with redstone so that it would only hold a certain amount of cakes. And anytime it has a cake, or one of those formation planes needs a cake, it pulls it out of the semi interface because that's the only other way I knew how to make formation planes work. And then it'll shove it into one of the 5 formation planes. And if at any point I need to up the amount of mana I make, I can just add more formation planes. But the Kekaramuses eat their cake, shove it into this elven spreader, which goes into the glowing, the what are they called? Fabulous mana pools.
I have an item
Super.
here. See the Mana Seer monocle. If I put this on, hopefully.
Oh, you're about to see a mess.
Ah! Lost my creative flight for a second. What? Hold shift for more. I should be able to see all this stuff, all the connections. Maybe I need to equip my staff. I did enough of Botania, but I never got like too crazy.
You can see mana with a monocle, but you should see a bunch of connections.
Oh, okay.
So
I see now. I see what
a lot of them, if you notice, the pools don't look like they're connected, but they actually are, because over the fabulous pools is a spark, and the spark has a passive attachment to it. So all the pools have some sparks over them, but the ones that are over the fabulous pools are passive, which means that they feed everything around them. And the ones over the creators, so the 4 in the middle and then the 4 on the outer edges, are dominant. So they pull mana from other mana pools. So it's particularly important for the ones on the outside, since you're actually dumping items into them. They need to have mana. But the others, the 4 in the middle, is just to make sure that there's enough mana to nearly instantly generate a Terra Steel.
So what the heck is a fabulous pool?
Fabulous pools just look cool.
Okay.
It was a way for me to mark like what was the entry point for mana in the network, but it was mainly because they look.
So I tried a bunch of ways to do automation of TerraSteel, and I never got something that would work without fail. There's a lot of similar components that I have to yours, a way to get the mana source consumable. I used sandwiches in mine. Uh-oh.
Yes. So I used cake.
What just happened?
I don't know. Where'd you go? Oh, did you teleport on a... Did you touch the... you probably touched the translocator plate. It was my solution to falling off.
Does it always teleport you?
It does. Here, I mean it.
Thermal expansion. I've never...
Boop. And then you just sit here, and then it'll teleport you.
Cool.
It was the way I could get off the ground if I, when I...
So how did you set up your timing here?
So there's not, because I'm brilliant. I'm just kidding. So, actually, there is. So... Actually, you don't need to do it this way. Just as an FYI, if anyone happens to be looking, you can actually stick the ME interface directly onto the open crate.
Yeah.
What I didn't realize was I ended up using a chest in a weird subnetwork. But one of the options for the ME interface is blocking mode. That's its default. But its other mode is called. There's one where you don't push crafting items in if the inventory contains items. And so you can actually just it'll push them out in order, and you can stick a timer, a sequencer on it, and it'll you don't need the chest. You can directly connect it into this export bus, and you can just stick a timer on the bus, and it'll tell it not to push into it, and it'll work that way.
Okay.
But I didn't realize at the time because it wasn't working and it was making me mad. But it does make probably a hella lag display. I mean, it doesn't lag my computer, but you're about to get it because I think it's cool. I have a slight timer with that thing, and then it'll grab it, sap it up, and start dropping more stuff.
This is nice.
I've actually sped it up a fair bit, and then it'll just make it like that, and it'll sap, and you'll see how much it's pulling out because it'll pull it out of the others. Basically, the 4 that are surrounding, like these 4, the ones that have the mana spreaders,
Yep. Yep.
distributioners that
Yep.
I took from your build. Um, those are just really just pulls to hold mana.
But they're the
They're
battery,
the
right?
batteries.
Yep.
Hmm.
All right, sweet. So,
The other four are your components. So you're like your diamond, your mana
mhm.
steel, your mana pearl. One of these is for glowstone because it's just easier to change redstone into glowstone. You can also do it through Thaumcraft, but I hadn't set up the Essentia network for that, right? Um, I've done that before where you just duplicate it through Thaumcraft, but I just use redstone.
Yeah.
But they'll do the same thing. And if any point you're making mana steel and you need the other components, they'll start dropping into their respective pools. And because the pools are dominant, they won't. They'll only empty into making mana steel. They won't empty into another pool.
Very cool.
So that's how I decided to solve that is through the dominant sparks,
I definitely
passive
used
sparks.
your formation planes to brute force my way through pure daisies. I spent a lot of time at lock space with pure daisies, but your system was so nice once you finished it that I just used the crap out of it. Which is a common theme between a lot of the stuff. I think that I ended up with finishing the most of the expansion, but I didn't end up innovating most of the expansion. I largely neglected mana, so it's really cool, or magic. So it's really cool to see how how you worked through all of this stuff. Pretty cool. Let's check out the orb over here. You were in the midst of
The Doom Star.
the Doomstar.
The it's ripped out of the ground.
What? Where did that fucking aura node come from?
It's always been there. That's the hungry note. Oh! Take off your hat. Take off your hat. Don't go inside. Take off your hat.
Okay, this is wow. Okay, I gotta see this. Okay, where am I going in at?
You're gonna go in the top. I haven't completed the
Complete.
entrance tunnel. Yeah, I couldn't see. So you're gonna go in the top, but you want your night vision to turn off first.
Okay,
I guess you don't have to take off your hat. You could just turn it off. But
did I? Do I have something else giving me night vision? Is this part lit up right now?
it'll take
Okay, I got it. I
yeah.
got it. Okay.
So this is the the murder chamber, and this is where the band now plays. This is their new place, and and they're the only thing that's lit up in this place, and that's what I think is hilarious. And there is a blaze spawner and a zombie spawner, and that's why it's dark in here. It's because the zombie spawner doesn't work right if there's light. The blaze spawner is okay, but the zombie spawner definitely doesn't work. And so they just fall here and they feed into this hungry
And
node,
you
which
play
is
them a
basically
fucking song.
Oh yeah, they played a death tune. It's there. And so I gave him a little stage. I'm really proud of this stage. And the tiger wood is protected through magic, through warding, and then there's warded glass in front of it.
That's great. I see you played with the crayon at some point.
Yes, yeah, there's some crayon playing.
So I actually got close enough to this thing. You can actually start getting sucked into it. I saw Derm just getting vacuumed a little bit. I think is the armor that you're wearing now enough to escape?
Yes. So once you can fly, you generally can escape because it has lulls in it that'll allow you to escape. Now the armor now will let me just get real close to it and not even I can actually read the aura node. Whereas before I had to wait till everything died and then like scoop like run by it. But you can also do like fun things like you can make an orbit, so you can just like scoot by it and you'll kind of orbit around it.
Yeah.
Especially with lesser packs like rockets.
Very cool. Very cool. So you use this to charge up your wand when you were doing stuff?
So this one's just being fed. I have one in the base that you saw that's in a thing.
Yep.
This one's also being fed by wood. Like I said, I don't have a huge farm. There's a little tiny subset of the magic base that's like it's two pieces. It's a barrel and a beast base barrel and a you'll see its twin up there, the twin beast base that makes crafting stations, which then get fed into it and then dumped into this thing because it contains all aspects.
Right.
I don't know how big it is. So
you ended
let's
up
see.
using 2 hungering nodes. How hard?
No, the first one I fed manually until it was, I think until all the aspects were at least 6 or 7, because I needed I needed above 100 in fire, and then I needed I think I needed 10 in fire, and then I think 5 in water and 5 in Producio to make my Essentia thing work. So we're looking at like 1100 Ordo, and then everything else is bigger than that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So
I think it's amazing that you got your own Arna and stuff going.
so I had to feed the first one manually because I found this one after that,
Did you
and
ever
so
end
I
up
fed it.
using my charging station to skip some steps?
I used it to charge my wand once or twice, but that was about
That's
it.
it, man. I used your stuff so much.
I mean, having to run around and charge wands pain in the arse. So I did it 3 or 4 times, and that was enough.
Yeah.
Particularly when you're in blood magic and you're making a boatload of arcane stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I used your stuff for that too. Well, that's super cool, dude. Are there any other like major projects that you undertook?
I don't think there's any like so. I mean, there's like the skeleton murder farm that's the same as yours that I used unstable weapons for. That's kind of why the smeltery's the side of it's the way it is it's set up for making unstable ingots, which are kind of a pain. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, forgot about the island. The island is where the teleporter goes. It's where the withers come in
Ah, cool.
and then get murdered.
Very cool.
And then it also kills all the slimes on the island, which I think is funny.
And since you set your base up next to this, something is killing the king slime now.
Yeah, if it's touching the land, it will. That's why the only king slimes that are alive are in the water.
Oh my god, these are all king slimes?
Yes, all of those are. Yep, that's a new thing. Like normally there was only 1 or 2. They just, I guess they realized that they went off land, they'd die. You know, I don't know.
Wow. So, so one of the cool things about being here in this area for Derm is, oh my god, I'm so sorry that I did that.
That was really funny. So don't be sorry. And those poor little guys are now going to drown. You just killed all those babies through drowning. You're basically, oh man, I forgot the lady's name. I was hoping I'd remember it.
So this is what Derm has got to deal with this whole time, but it's kind of a nice thing because at a certain stage of progression, you can get early access to the miniature red heart or to these yellow hearts. Holy cows! Look at all these. That I've never seen that before, man. I've never seen that many king slimes just sitting and chilling there. That's yeah, wow. So it's something you consider if you're going to start a new server. You know, do you want to be dealing with this forever for some advantage in the early game? And I think you had a slime island that regularly produced these dudes too, next to your original base, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Kyra and I had one in between us. I think I did actually find one really early in the game when I was venturing over to your base that I killed, and that allowed me to get some things. I always had slime weapons as backup in case I.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is just the Doom Sphere that would have originally, like the original plan until I kind of.
It's so cool to roll up on this thing thinking, oh, okay, well, this is just a normal sphere. And then the heart of it starts to glow like it's going to fucking go off. It's really cool.
Yeah, I like it. And hungry nodes are slightly different than regular nodes. Like the inside of their ring is like it's like jagged or something.
Yeah.
I can't remember, but you can kind of tell if you have the like the ability to see them, that their glow is slightly different. Oh, what is this guy doing?
So a couple questions for you, and maybe Cody can chime in here too. The next mod pack that we do, whenever it is, what do you want? Would you like something similar to this? Are there things that you didn't explore here that you would like to on this time? This is, I think, the second major server project that you've done in both times it has been on Infinity Evolved. So, like, what were some of the takeaways from the experience that you had? What would you like to do in the future, kind of going forward?
So as far as this mod pack, there's not a whole lot I didn't explore. Like, so we didn't fully explore Witchery.
Take me to the witch place.
The spirit realm.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I have any potions.
Oh, you know what? Forget it. That'll be fine. I don't know that I'll point it out. I know there's a way to import all your stuff there.
The belt. The belt is how I
Yeah, and it sounded
realized I
like you
could
had
cheat.
to. What was that belt called?
Let's see. I might be still wearing it. No, that's stomach
I
stabilizer.
think I used my
Let's see.
backpack. My backpack is sagging.
Travelers. Well, you can't access the backpack. So a traveler's belt,
Okay,
like the knapsack. You can't access the knapsack, but the traveler's belt you can press B, and everything that's on your secondary toolbar
that's
will
it.
allow you to access it.
Yeah, that's
And
it.
so, yes, if you were to do progression, you had to because it doesn't spawn shards, Thaumcraft shards in that realm. So, so those are really the only way you can do it, unless you somehow progress through bees to make Thaumcraft magic bees that then made shards. But I'm not even sure you can do that without Thaumcraft stuff. So who
Yeah, it's
knows?
tough. It's the Spirit Realm was kind of a. It was a bit reinvigorating. I did spend some time in there after I saw you had gone into it because it's kind of like a way to start over and it can be kind of fun. But then you end up going back to. I will say that Witchery was one of the least integrated mods in this mod pack. The tech tree for me felt really robust. The magic tree had some really interesting interactions, but fell off very quickly as the focus became on, you know, uh, which I think Witchery
Yeah,
ends up being the strongest in the end, but it's not it's not a very exciting mod relative to.
it has the most unique things it can do,
It's very
but
charming, but it doesn't have like ore doubling and the other things that you focus your time on.
yeah, what I would have liked is if they had melded. Like I said, there were times where the melding in the sense that the tech and magic touched each other. Like I said early on, you could have say switched from magic into tech and had an advantage. Um, but you can't really switch early on with tech into magic because you may have had an advantage, but the advantage wasn't more than you just progressing through tech.
Right.
And so,
But it does
like
make a different play style.
yeah. So I don't know. If I was to do it again, I don't think I would I would probably still progress through tech, and I would probably just do it without the
I feel the same
some
way.
of the more wasteful moments.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great adventure, this mod pack for me. My time playing with you in this mod pack has been really amazing. It's some of the most memorable times that I've ever had in gaming. I really enjoy your company wholeheartedly. I even enjoyed Cody's company after he came onto the scene. So it was really cool to do this. I think this will be 9 months. It's our largest project ever. So coming to a close. I am planning on downloading a copy of this world and putting it onto a thumb drive and sending it out one day. But I also planned on sending out a wooden flute one time, so that didn't work out so well.
Shaped like a penis.
Yeah.
I mean, like as long as you download the world, you can always do it later. So like that's not a, you know.
Are
Um,
you happy with the 1.7.10 world? Would you like to move on to 1.12 in the future, knowing that a lot of things are going to be different?
I would need to look more into those because like some of them seem neat. Oh, I never really finished. So there are a few things that I would have done on this world that like I didn't do that but I'm kind of too lazy at this point. I'm pretty sure I can automate rituals, like particularly the Thaumcraft ritual. I can stick a golem on each corner, on each essentially each cardinal, and have it fed through kind of a center below the ritual itself, fed via the A network through like a round robin,
Hmm.
and it would allow the golems to set everything on the to different pedestals, and they'll just set stuff on a pedestal that's not filled, um, and then just go around. I'm pretty sure I should be able to do that, but that would have been cool. But as far as 1.2, I don't know enough about it. I kind of want to look into it because I saw that one thread you mentioned that some people miss things like Tesseract, and there are things that do that, but I would just have to look up how progression works. Like I
Yeah.
don't need to look in detail because I want to figure it out. But
I've been very satisfied with the 1.7 patch released stuff. It's not being developed anymore, really, and there are still some great mod packs out there that are in this world space. Because I think 1.8 was a major change patch. You got sort of like getting things in the base game like dual wielding and new animals and things like that. So I don't know. It's been a great experience. It's been really cool to see all the stuff that you've done. I think as far as the most done on the server, the most complete play, I think Derm's play has been the most complete experience of this Infinity Evolved Expert mode. So,
I tried to touch everything I could. I even touched the saws to make the stairs.
yep. Yeah. What is it?
Witchery. Once I realized I could cheat stuff into the world, I think it became like a problem
Yeah.
because what I would just do. is I would have just cheated in um, like a kettle. But if I was cheating in a kettle, why not just cheat in the stove anyway?
Yeah.
If I was cheating in the oven, why not cheat in the kettle?
Yep.
And that's all you really need is the kettle and then the things to make the spirit liquid or whatever.
Well, all right, man. Thanks for the tour. I'm gonna close this up. I'm probably gonna edit this thing into maybe 7 different shorter videos, hopefully section by section. And I want to do the same thing for everybody else. I'm not gonna promise this anytime soon, but it'll be nice. And I was glad to have this last tour.
Sure. Well, thank you. I wish I had touched. I don't think any of us touched RF dimensions. I had started looking into it, but I needed to generate a whole bunch of power, but also just like the dimlets and everything else. And like I had researched a bunch, but none of them, you know, basically you got to create your first world and then mine it, and then you can like expand from there. But I don't know. That'd be something to look at as just dimensions. But I'll keep you updated
Yeah.
on stuff.
Over the next 3 weeks.
I don't think I'll touch it here. I don't know.
Any
Probably
final
too
words
busy.
for the YouTubes?
Eat a dick, grandma.
Was this worth the $60 that you paid?
Oh, absolutely.
Good. Good. All right, I'm gonna turn the recording off.